seen
Okay.
it.
The
I know
newer.
what you're talking about,
Yeah.
though.
All right, we're rolling. So.
All right. And so Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood plays this Jack Dalton, who's this TV Western Clint Eastwood character, but like time is starting to get away. They're toward the end of their career.
Okay.
And so The Mandalorian to me felt like that show. Like it felt like a 70s, 80s TV Western. And I is it my headphones? Everything just kind of cut off for a second. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it just felt like this 70s kind of Western where there's like, I mean, all the Mandalorian are gunslingers. I mean, they're all carrying this sidearm low on their hip. They're all cruising around kind of in almost this shawl, like the Clint Eastwood kind of drape thing. They're in bars, and it is shot in this yellowish tint.
Yeah.
Like, it's very Western. And, like, I mean, the scene with Paz, that's a main character, right, Brent? Paz?
In what?
Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mando.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Yeah.
Pascal?
Yeah, Pascal.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
like, the scene with him and Bill Burr driving the truck trying to get into the facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a stagecoach. Like, you have bandits trying to get on the stagecoach. That's all this is, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just in a different universe. It's a Western.
Well, yeah, my favorite part about the whole thing is just how vulnerable he feels. He feels like he's definitely a badass where he takes out like 3 or 4 people, but he gets shot a lot. Yeah. He gets beat up like a lot. Like he almost dies like at the start with that giant mud ruck thing or whatever. Like any other movie, this dude would have like jumped over it like 35 times and like slid under it and like not gotten scratched, but like it made him very like human, which I thought was the best part about it in a very not human universe.
Yeah, but I had never, I couldn't tell you any Star Wars things I've watched before, any of the movies, but what a guy I know they work out with sometimes, he's like, you gotta watch it. He goes, trust me, just watch it.
I thought it was wildly entertaining.
I watched the first episode. I'm like, okay, next one. I'm gonna keep rolling through it. I was like, this is pretty good. Then I got kind of hooked on it.
I definitely had parts where like because I'm on the treadmill doing shit like, and I'm here by myself, that I'm cheering.
Yeah,
I'm just like, let's go, Mando.
Yeah, for sure.
Just pumped. All right. So anyway, Jeff, since you're not a regular character in my cast of people that I'm around, let's explain a little bit of how you got here and how we halfway have circled around each other for a number of years without ever actually crossing paths.
Yeah, for sure. I think I want to say probably 7 years ago or so, I started hearing your name from Matt Bruce, from you guys both live in Louisiana. He goes, I got this badass guy's a Highland Games champ, and it was always, that's where your name came up. And then I got involved with working with Brute Strength. And,
okay, so you worked with them kind of like when they got going, like early on.
I want to say I was one of the 5th or 6th employee.
Right on.
There was, I think that was when kind of Tommy wasn't part of it. Mike Caju, Bruce, Adrian Conway. Then myself and Nick Sorrell came in at the same time, and they had, then Nelson the producer was had already been hired, and obviously like Brooke was helping with some stuff as well. So, I was then launched the weightlifting program with them with Matt. So I was going out to Salt Lake a lot to film at Tommy's gym, and we got rolling with that. So then. You were connected to some people in that group too, so I kept hearing your name. And
so like I know everyone in the Brute group except you, basically.
You know what?
Because I went to a different retreat or something.
You went
like
to the
that,
one at Lake Tahoe.
Yes.
And we hadn't launched the weightlifting program yet, and so I was just like, I was kind of doing the work behind the scenes to get that rolling and helping with other stuff where I could, and then I think at the last second, Caju's like, we got to get you there. He goes, I'll fly you out here. And then we looked at plane tickets like that week, and it was like $1,200.
That is awful.
Then it was like $1,200, and then
we'll do the next one.
He goes, dude, you'll be at the next one. And so,
was there a second one?
There.
Y'all did
was that a coaches and athletes retreat, or was that just kind of a? It was
a lot of everything, because I was there with Chrissy Cagney and her group from Donuts and Deadlifts. And then just because I was literally there because I know Matt Bruce and I know Chrissy.
I met Chrissy a couple times through Mike.
And I was like, look, I'll come hang out.
Yeah.
I'll come hang out and do stuff. So that's basically why I was there.
Yeah, I went, we did one kind of in Salt Lake. There was one in Salt Lake, then there was one down in New Orleans we did.
Oh shit.
During like Halloween, and it was a good time. We all
I'm
stayed
sure
in one house, and
I'm sure it's a good time.
Yeah, so that was so I would always hear your name come up, and then I knew you'd been in and out of town in St. Louis the last couple years. And being at that, I was at Hybrid last week, and then
we just missed each other there.
Then when people asked me, they said, "Oh, where are you from?" They said, "I'm from St. Louis," and they said, "They go, oh, so if you know Matt Vincent, right?" I go, "Know of him," they go, "Well, he's like setting up shop in St. Louis," and because I knew you traveled a lot because just following you on Instagram and stuff. And then Hayden was like, "Oh," he goes, "He's a nomad and he's all over the place and stuff," and kind of living that lifestyle for a while and out and about and living life, networking, and so then Jordan was, "Where are you from?" Like, "St. Louis." He goes, "Gotta hook you up, my boy Matt Vincent."
Well, you hear it enough. So, apparently, we need to fucking do something.
And then Fernando, I was staying at Fernando's place all week, Fernando Reyes, and then he goes, "Oh, I like that dude, bro." He goes, "Yeah, he came in. The guy's cool as fuck." And he goes, "Fuck yeah!" And so
everything I've ever hoped about curating this persona is going great for me.
Yeah, so I'm stroking your ego here, but no, but everyone was just like, and then Hayden's like, "Oh, you got to link it up. You got to link up when you get back in town." Like,
oh, dude, so easy, man. Especially since you're here in town. Like, this is
I'm
such
only
an easy
like
thing.
30 minutes away, so I thought it was like, that's what I was like. I'm gonna hit him up. And
dude,
see.
we live.
I
2 minutes.
When I was just because he said you were setting up a gym. I didn't know the extent of it as far as private, public, and all that. So I was just like, and I'm always down to work out and meet people and network and all that.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I hit him up, just say, "Hey man, let me link up sometimes." So I didn't even expect a podcast or anything.
No, man.
Like, I thought I was like, "Hey, just show the place, we'll tell some stories or whatever."
Like for me, after you hit me up, and I'm like, fuck, like the name felt familiar, and then especially talking about Matt Bruce and these other people that we have in common and know. So I text Hayden and Jordan, and they kind of gave me some fill-in, and like then gave me some Olympic lifting background on you, which is gnarly, man. Like, you've got some big lifts. Yeah. And like competed, like what level did you compete at, and all did you accomplish?
So I started competing when I was about 10 years old. So I'm almost 37 now.
Yep.
Competed from age of 10 till about 24. Won a lot of the school age. I won 5 school age national titles, 5 junior titles, which is there's under 16 and under 20. Made 3 junior world teams. Competed on a senior world team. Pan Am medalist. Pan Am Games team member. I'm trying to think what else. Lifted in some other national.
Did you compete with Matt? Like kind of the same? Yeah, I guess we'd all be same time.
So me and Matt are a year apart. So Matt. I met Matt initially from the junior squad camps in Colorado Springs. You would go if you hit a certain total at junior nationals, they'd fly you out there and train. So I met Matt Bruce through those. We were on I take that back. The first time I met him, we were on the same team. I think to a trip in Canada. It was like a USA versus Canada meet. They used to do Louis Cyr Cup back in the day.
Louis Cyr Cup.
Yeah. So
I love that Canada just uses the Louis Cyr for shit.
Yeah, and so. I competed in that a couple of times. That was when I first met him, and then got linked up, and we were on some junior world teams together and stuff. And I competed in some junior Pan Ams, and then we both competed. I competed in the 04 trials. I was pretty young then, 19, and then competed in the 08 trials.
Oh wow!
As well, where outside me and. Matt was ranked pretty high. Me and Matt roomed together for we roomed together at a lot of meets. Usually the international meets, when we were at the Pan Ams, we'd room together. And most of the international meets we were on together. And we at the trials we both only ended up making our openers, but we both knew, hey, if we had a good day, we could we'd be close to putting it together. And kind of neither of us did, but it was a. It was
man,
a
at that level, it's such a fine line dance of technique and prepared, and then like equipment, and especially like I imagine it would be nice, right? That if you are a, let's say, Klokov character, right? Like that's who you are in your country. Plus you're that good. You can kind of go into trials with this. I just got to qualify.
Yeah.
And you get to just have a good day. But at the U.S., trying to make a weightlifting team, like, you need what? I need to PR by 5 kilos today for this to be a valuable day. Like, that's a fucking gnarly attitude to go in with.
Yeah, and we had, so there was only, at the time of the trials, they said we had 3 male spots. That was it. So
across everything.
For 3 male spots across all weight classes. So
right.
You have the A session of the trials, which me and Matt were in. There's 10 of us. And it was basically, hey, whoever. And there was another meet they used, I think Pan Ams and Nationals, you could use that total as well. The qualifying procedures have completely changed now.
Yeah, it's weird now.
It's a little more complex now, I would say.
Yeah, I had Matty Rogers on, and we talked about all of it. So
yeah, it's almost like you need a data analyst to come in and kind of help explain it. But then it was, you could have a few totals to pick from, but then the trials was the meet. But it was everyone, there was, the first 2 spots were kind of locked in with the 2 guys. I think it was, with Chad Vaughn and Kendrick Ferris. They were pretty set if they had good days. Chad put together a good total. Kendrick was pretty much a lock with what he already had. Then that 3rd spot was the one that was up for grabs. So everyone was battling for that 3rd spot, where Matt missed his, he had a bad day. He cut a lot of weight, and then he ended up going up a weight class after that. But there was a lot of lifters who were trying on their clean and jerks to get in that 3rd spot. So I put, I had a rough day snatching. I only made my opener. I had my 2nd attempt overhead and stood like all the way up with it, and then missed it forward. And the 3rd one wasn't close. So, and then clean and jerk, I had to make up some ground. So
when you missed that 2nd snatch, did you go up for your 3rd anyway?
I did, to buy a little time.
Yep.
So I missed 157 kilos and then went up a kilo. But it was, I missed, an interesting fact about that meet, I missed my last 4 warm-ups.
Oh, no.
Because I very rarely have competition anxiety. And at that meet, for whatever reason, I did. Maybe with it being the trials, and my training was going really well. I had hit a 160-200, and usually I did more at the meet. So I think that kind of was like, okay.
Oh, man.
I was like, hey, I'm going to go in and I think I'm going to do it. Like, I think I'm going to piece it together this day. And, I think looking back, I may have peaked a little bit too soon. I felt better in those and stronger in those other sessions. And I wasn't cutting any weight either. So it wasn't like there was no excuse there where, just that particular day wasn't able to piece it together. Then I had to make up some ground in the clean and jerk after the bad snatches. And I, opened up with 195 and then clean 204, which would have put me in that 3rd spot. Had the jerk locked out, had 1 step back, then overstep on my recovery with my back foot, and I pushed the weight forward. And so it was like right in my hands. And then went back and cleaned it, and then missed the jerk. Wasn't close. I knew after that, because that would have been a big PR for me. So yeah, after that, and then Casey Bergner came out on I think he had to bump someone else off the team. He went out, missed his opener, then made it, and he took the 3rd spot and then passed on his 3rd clean and jerk. But what ended up happening was we didn't truly have 3 spots. We only had 2 spots.
Right.
And I don't know if you know any of the background on that, but I won't get all into the details. But basically, our board of directors was anticipating that because of drug test failures, that we would get 3 spots instead of 2. So I'm not saying that it would have changed the session would have looked a lot different with attempt wise, especially for a guy like Casey, where it's like, hey, he wouldn't have passed on his 3rd. And
right.
The whole meet would have been different.
Well, yeah, if I know that I'm in.
Yeah, so the whole meet would have been different. So it was just after that, and we had found that out a few weeks later. But then I was getting calls from people on the board of directors and saying, hey, there's even more positive drug tests, so we may get a bigger team. Because I was sitting around the 5th overall.
And that's what's so crazy to me, right, with the Olympic weightlifting, that it's not just a weight standard, but it also goes by weight class, depending on, like, if we have 3 people we can send, we're going to send the people that we think have the best chance of medals.
Yeah.
And so, we may send 2 in this weight class, or even, let's just say, a weaker totaled athlete, but because they're not as if their weight class isn't as competitive overall, even though they're, not the best American. Like, if someone sets an American record in another weight class, but that weight class is gnarly on the world scale, and someone's pretty good in another weight class but can finish top 3 at the Olympics, they're going to choose that person.
Oh, for sure.
That's how it works. So you're trying to get medals. That's the game.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about, I guess it's how you define best, where it's like, wait, hey, is best who can place the best in the world, or is best if you look at, if someone's a weight class up, but they only lift 5 kilos more than you and you weigh 10 kilos less, like you're a significantly better lifter, but hey, they'll send them because they're going to, get a few more points or place higher. So, yeah, no, that's an interesting point. That's definitely the case. And I was, there were some situations qualifying for like senior world teams where it was, the weight class above me was a little weaker internationally. I was a 94, 105 was a little bit weaker. So, our totals were almost the same to qualify, but granted, you could weigh 11 kilos more, but I had the option of going up, but on my frame, 105 kilos doesn't, I don't move too well. I'm right at 5'8".
Okay. No, and so I want to go back to something you were talking about, that like going into the Olympic trials and kind of the anxiety with, but not only that, like your training leading up to that point had a big confidence in it. And so I've had those days competing where like, holy shit, like this week's training has been or these last 2 weeks or this whatever leading up to a big competition that I had, like a nationals or a worlds, like everything's on fire.
Yeah.
And you just know. And so on days like that, for me, all I could think about mentality wise, like during warm-ups or anything, is like, yo, just keep it together. Because if you try to put any fucking gas pedal on this, everything's too fast and you can't hold it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just do your job. And like, because you're better prepared, it'll work.
Yeah.
But oh man, I've had those days where you just overcook it because you're stoked.
And my my opener felt so heavy because, I think that I'm trying to think I think the heaviest snatch I had overhead was 35. And then I missed I don't remember exactly, but it was like, I missed my next 2 warm-ups and it was just like, hey, kind of do or die. We couldn't lower my opening attempts. I put in 55 and then I was like, might need to lower it today. And so, my dad's like, all right, he comes back. He goes, all right, I got it lowered. And he goes, we got 54. And I go, oh, fuck.
So Brant, as you've never competed in Olympic weightlifting. And so like he's talking about at trials, right? Like the difference in weight jumps between first and third attempt are 154 kilos and 158 was your third.
I went 54, 57. Then.
Yeah. It's not big jumps.
No.
Yeah. It's a lot smaller jumps. I feel like I get that simply because I understand like the technicality of it. So like, yeah, that's like 8 pounds is like a lot.
Right. And like, it's crazy to act though, that like, and what you're saying, I guess for people that don't have a reference, is the difference in like my opener felt easy on those days. And there's only 8 pounds different between your opener and a third.
Yeah.
Where, cause it's so technical.
Well, and this meet too is you're strategically piecing a total where I knew like, I knew I could clean anything I needed to make the team no matter what.
Sure.
It's the jerk. It's just, will I have enough energy for the jerk were my jerks on that day, which they almost were. They felt great warming up in my first attempt and all that stuff. But that's why snatch wise, like, hey, let's squeeze as much out of that snatch as we can. But it just didn't. It didn't go. But yeah, I mean, I think looking back, like, hey, hindsight's always 20/20. And looking back, but I was like, hey, I felt prepared. I was, back squatting PRs. I was training good. The things I would go back and change was, was still, was still young, and so I wasn't doing. All the things I know now as far as, hey, recovery-wise and lifestyle. But you don't have to
at that age. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, you can get away with it. That's why you're young and dumb, is you can just hammer the machine and it responds okay, whereas, like, the older you get, you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and, like, I competed on a Saturday Olympic trials, flew to Atlanta Friday. Like, I still went out Thursday night and had a few drinks.
Of course.
I had one of my buddies was in town from Oklahoma who was competing in like he was in like the B session in the trial, so he didn't really like give a fuck what he was gonna play. He was just there to
be part of the trials.
Yeah, to be part of the trials. I think he ended up bombing out, missed all his attempts, but he Yeah,
That's the right attitude for it.
He goes, hey, let's go out for a little bit and just and I was like, for me mentally though, it was good because if I sit at home, I'm just gonna like think the attempts in my head.
I did the same thing as a young athlete with the Highland Games, right? Like I drank all the fucking time. I drank most of the time during my competitions. We're on the field forever, so by caber, I'm usually pretty half lit. Yeah,
and so a few days before. It was just like, I mean, I didn't get hammered or anything when I had a few drinks and saw some people and socialized.
Sure.
But mentally, though, it took my mind off of what was going to happen Saturday. So, but even like leading up to that, I'm like, probably like maybe, shouldn't have, maybe shouldn't have gone out that night before the heavy session. So I look back and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? But
I think throwing and weightlifting, oddly enough, you can kind of get away with drinking a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there is something to the little bit of give less of a fuck the next day that really helps.
I agree.
There's something to it that just...
It's a fine balance.
It for sure is, but there is some like... It's a little bit extra flow state because it just knocks things down a little bit. And for throwing, it's so technical. I always thought throwing and weightlifting were fucking identical in the approach to training because it's such a submaximal thing that I'm trying to apply maximal force to, but technique has to win.
And you have the 3 times.
That's it, right? Yeah. And so with the throws, nothing we throw is fucking heavy. Yeah. And so like I need to be smooth and fast. And so like trying to throw hard doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so, it's just hit the cues and know that you load it and you get to smash it. And weightlifting, at least a little bit that I did, it always felt the same way, is that if I could have those days that the technique felt really crisp and smooth, the weight took care of itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, it was a fun sport. I didn't like competing in it.
Why not?
It's fucking boring.
Yeah.
I'm spoiled. The throwing thing's too good.
Yeah.
We're outside all day fucking around. And
that's true. And, the meets now, in my opinion, are even more boring than they used to be.
Come on.
Because it's like, especially if you go to like one of the 8 American Open series or even the Nationals for that matter, where, now one of the biggest revenue generators for the sport is the entry fees. They've upped the entry fees and where, you're having these, these FGH sessions. So you go to the meet, and it did remind me of going to like some college track meets where there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
But the one thing I don't like about it is where, hey, someone's trying an American record on this platform, and then there's 5 other platforms going, and then there's just, you hear the noise where it wasn't used to like. It's not what I was accustomed to.
So you guys had like an A session, like that session got the show.
The Nationals was one platform.
Right.
You go to the Nationals, one platform. Junior Nationals, there was 2 platforms, at some times.
Maybe I'm fucked on this, right? But like, I just feel like Nationals, to me, top 6 in each weight class? All that really needs to be there?
Yeah. But
that's it? But it's such a revenue generator now.
Correct.
And I get that the sport needs money, I suppose, yes. And then same way I feel about USAPL. Like they recently sold a lifetime membership, which also gets you an automatic invite, I believe, to Nationals.
Yeah.
So you can fucking just buy, they literally are like, if you'd like to go to Nationals, here's how much it costs.
Yeah, and it's just different because it was like, hey, maybe back then it was only
if I don't know the facts on that, Brandon,
there was like 100 and something, an American Open or Nationals, you're typically like between 100 and 200, where now some of these American Opens, you're talking, like 600 people, and it's a 5-day meet.
Well, yeah, that's the same thing with like USAPL. It's like fucking 2,200 kids.
Yeah.
Dude, I guess this was 2018 then, because this is when we went to Nationals together, when we went to Chicago. Yeah, that was
it's
ridiculous.
Bonkers.
They have 4 platforms going to get through everyone.
In 3 days.
Yeah, over 3 days. It was insane. I'm like, this is absurd.
And like for me, like no one gets paid. Like none of your athletes get taken care of.
There's a few I think now that are on stipends where they
with weightlifting, yes, powerlifting,
powerlifting, just sponsorships, right?
If I'm remembering from the Maddie Rogers thing, she said it wasn't very much, right?
No, the stipend, even the USAW stipend's not great.
No, it's not. I mean, the most like I think when I was on the world team and considered on the national team for a couple years, like it was $500 a month.
Right.
And then I think if
let's say we double that, it's still not good.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most money I ever got paid by the Federation in a year would have been like $18K. You know, but like at that, when I'm like 21, 22 and in college, you know, it's just, and I got a, you know, $5K check after the meet. I'm just like, I'm like, get, you know, grab my buddies. I'm like, drinks on me.
Come get it. Oh, yeah,
like,
dude.
I'm like, drinks on me, shots and stuff.
Yeah, that was Highland Games shit. We got paid every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, a couple $100 here and there, make $1,000.
I mean, I think I blew a grand 1,500 in, you know, in a short amount of time.
Good work.
In like a week.
Yeah.
You know, buying some dumb shit.
Yeah, of course.
You're a college kid.
You're a college kid.
We never spend our money well.
I went to.
It doesn't matter how broke we are, we still spend it poorly.
I remember being like broke college, right? And like I remember like Thursday, Friday night, need to go out, look at my account and be like, we have $90. We're sweet.
Yeah.
We have a ton of money. I have $50 to go get drunk with.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's about it. Yep. That's
not gonna work good for me anymore. No, fucking life's too expensive. But so you're in St. Louis. What do you do here now?
Yeah, so I can kind of take you back to the path like post weightlifting.
All right.
So kind of post weightlifting, you know, after the trials, so only competing in a couple more meets. After that, my body was feeling really beat up, even though I was 24. But you know, I started, you know, cleaning around 400 pounds at 17, and so it was just. You know, so it's, you know, it was a good 7 years of over, you know, 400, and it just kind of caught up with me. And I started young, even though I had pretty good positions. I did have a partially torn quad from 05 that kind of it ruptured a year and a half ago. But it was they did PRP in it a couple rounds and all that. But
did you get anything out of that?
The PRP?
Yeah.
It bought some time.
Okay.
It bought some time for sure, but they were like, oh, it'll be 3-week recovery process. It was multiple months. They pumped so much blood in there, and I didn't have – the problem was it took so long to get the swelling down. I couldn't lift because the range of motion was changing, and then I would try to squat, and then it was jacking my back up.
Yep.
And so because it was just – I mean, my knee was huge. So I got a little benefit out of it, and I could definitely tell it felt better. It didn't feel quite as rough as far as the scar tissue goes. But, you know, and they didn't get – I don't know what percentage it was tore. You know, if it was 20-something%, we're like, hey, this will help. And there's really no need for surgery yet. But it just slowly kept tearing.
And then you did surgery.
After it fully ruptured.
Okay, yeah.
So after it fully ruptured. But, yeah, but as far as after weightlifting, you know, after the trials, I was like, I don't have my degree yet. I'm, you know, going to be 24, getting some anxiety about that. And I'm just like, all right, so what? I was like, all right, well, I put weightlifting on the back burner and was like, I left the school I was at. I came back home. I was a few hours away training. I was going to Missouri State University, and we were launching a weightlifting team here at Lindenwood, in St. Charles, kind of just across the bridge here, you know, 20-25 minutes or so. So ended up going there, and I was like, I knocked out, oh gosh, it was like 50-something credits in a year. I did 18 both semester. They had these J terms over Christmas break. I did the summer classes, and then boom, got my degree. And so then after that, got my degree in marketing.
Right.
Initial plan was to go into something medically related. Then I realized I wasn't focused enough to sit and study that well, where I could just kind of wing it on the business courses.
Sure.
So then after that, you know, I was just involved as like a volunteer coach with the Lindenwood team, recruiting guys to come in and stuff. And after I graduated, you know, in 2009, the job market wasn't the best, and I was applying all these places. And I think in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to, you know, hey, I got this, you know, the sport background. I can, maybe one of these like sports marketing agencies going to hire me. I tried to get on with the St. Louis Sports Commission. Like, I think I got a hard dose of reality of saying like, hey, you do need some skills outside of just that piece of paper and being able to snatch and clean and jerk a lot. Odd. So it was 9 months. And, you know, it was 9 months. I couldn't find a job. I had a buddy, his mom, pretty high up at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And she goes, hey, you know, my mom gets you on an Enterprise. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm like, I'll take anything.
Yep.
So I took a job making $29K, worked there 2 years. And
doing rental car stuff.
Doing rental car stuff. The majority of it was, you know, you're renting the cars and then you're cleaning the cars too in suits. and it's long days. It's 7 to 7.
Yep.
And talk about the most, like, if you want to talk about an ego check where, and where, it was like I'm doing that, and I'm like, okay, 1.5 years ago, I'm at the Olympic trials. I had traveled to 20 countries around the world. I lived at the Olympic Center.
No one gives a shit.
They don't. I mean, there was some, as far as career goes, like, hey, some of the guys thought it was cool and all that, but it's like, hey, here we are. And I felt a little better because there was a guy that got in the NFL and then got hurt, and and he, was on a practice squad and then made like one season, so he had a little bit of cash. Tried to play in Europe, so there were some guys I could relate with a little bit to that sense. But
look, people still need jobs. That's the thing.
Yeah, and so when I'm in the hood in St. Louis washing cars I worked at a bunch of different enterprise branches around. I worked at the airport a little bit and just dealing with that and the customer service aspect when I'm washing a car in a suit. And that's where I was kind of like, I needed that though, because I needed to get humbled.
Dude.
Because like I did it for 2 years. I stuck it out. And then I ended up getting on with there's a company here based out of their global headquarters here out of St. Louis, Worldwide Technology. So a guy who was working in the enterprise, and he goes, hey man, I got a job with this company. He couldn't even explain what they did. He goes, they do like stuff with like, you're at a desk all day. We don't have to wash cars and shit. He goes,
sounds good.
He goes, dude, just apply. Like, we'll get on. So I applied a few times, didn't hear back. Then the fourth time was a charm. I got in for an interview, and I quit enterprise, rent a car. And I was trained. I was just training a lot. I was like, you know what? Like, I have some money saved up. I'm gonna quit and find something else too. So I had already quit at that point when I was applying for these jobs, and I was training. I started getting into training a little more in weight just to be happy.
Yeah,
so I was a little down
because you need it,
defeated exactly, and
especially low times like that, right? Like when your ego's been chalked a little bit. Like, it's worth having that thing that you do well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
To go back to it and be like, I have mastery over something.
And I just didn't feel like I was, you want to feel like you're providing value. And I get like the way they provide a service with all that. It's great, but it just had no meaning to me.
It's not your passion.
Yeah,
it's a job.
So, and it was, I started helping coaching guys more and all that. And then once I ended up going to when Fernando was in town, went living here, and he goes, hey, let's go to this was after I quit. He goes, hey, let's go down to Rio for the Arnold. So me and him flew down there, like hung out for like a week, and then I came back, and I had the place Worldwide Technology I'd apply for. They said, hey, we'll bring in for the interview. Then it brought me an interview. It was pretty quick. Then started working there. So that was about 8 years ago, and so I've still been there.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I do in St. Louis. I work from home now. It was in the office. Our headquarters is pretty close. It's not too far from here, but I've been doing that for 8 years now, and just kind of worked my way up in leadership. Started off in a supply chain operations type role. It's kind of hard to explain what the company does. We do kind of a little bit of everything as far as tech related. It could be from as simple as sending, ink toner to companies, to cybersecurity solutions, to building applications.
Oh shit! Okay.
Software integration.
Now, do you make software and develop software yourselves, or are you like a middleman?
We're primarily a reseller. Okay. We also do some integration, software integration work at some of our labs, and then also do a lot of testing out of like the Maryland Heights area here, where they call that sandbox environment, where if there's certain solutions that customers want to come in and test out, they can come in and test that out with a lot of like rack solution data integration. So they try to mimic what their data center environment would be like, and do that. But I'm one of the least technical people that works there. I know the part numbers, and I have a general understanding for some of that stuff, but I was more so on the supply chain and just kind of moving there. So
I did outside sales in the petrochemical industry for 10 years, and did in refractory sales and things like that. And I have very little understanding of what I sold for 10 years. I know what my job was. Yeah. And I know what needed to be done for me to get jobs.
Yeah. And here, the company culture is really good, at Worldwide. It definitely is, hey, everyone, no one's treated like a number. You're treated like a person, where it's a little different from where I was at before. So the first couple of years were rough. I'm sitting in a cube, trying to work. And then I got to a point too where I did try to make a little bit of a comeback in weightlifting, and then ended up getting in a car accident and rolled my car. I got 150 stitches staples in my head.
Shit, man.
You can probably see like some of the scar there.
Yeah, okay.
But it healed really well. But
150 staples.
150 stitches, staples, and sutures. So it was basically this whole part of my head, the skin on my skull was flopped back, and you could see like my whole part of the head.
Where did you flip it?
I flipped it off the highway, fell asleep in the morning driving, and it was after a long night. I won't go into details, sure. But
I got you.
Drove off the highway.
Better decisions could have been made.
A lot.
All right.
There was a lot of it. The poor decision started at like 5 the day before.
Understand.
And so luckily I had a navigator, so it was like literally like a tank.
Yeah.
So it was the car was like an accordion with the exception of the cabin. So a smaller car would have been gone. I had 2 buddies in the car with me who obviously were asleep as well, and dozed off, and then woke up and in an ambulance and was in the hospital for a few days. Concussion, tore my labrum in my right shoulder, but I had got back up to 160, 200 in training about 2 weeks before the car accident. So I was, this was right after my 30th birthday, and I said, hey, I'm going to make another little run. Because I think I took it easy, got my body kind of healthy, and then that sidetracked that. And then it was, after that I was at a pretty low spot because
how long did you notice like the concussion really beating you up?
It was hard to tell because, they put you on the painkillers, so like you feel kind of loopy and out of it anyway. So you're on like, Oxycontin for a few weeks, then they put you on Norcos and the Percocets and all that, so you're talking about several months of that. So I felt
you're cloudy anyway.
Yeah, so I'm cloudy anyway. And the crazy thing, so I only missed 1 day of work. That was it. And so
you had your face reattached.
So they were cool with me. You're not supposed to wear a hat in there, so they let me come in with a beanie. But all the blood had settled into my eyes, and so I looked. My whole face was
purple.
Was a bruise. So I was like, I'm never gonna get promoted here. It looks like I got in a bar fight.
It's like the Edward Norton of Fight Club look. Just sitting in there in a cubicle like a maniac.
Yeah, but it's like I was raised to. It's like, hey, like if you can go to work, you go to work.
Yeah.
My dad had always worked 2 or 3 jobs, and it was just like, hey, if you can go to work, you go to work. And I'm like, I can either sit here and be sad, or I can go in and do my best to get the job done. And so that's what I did. I missed 1 day, and everyone thought I was crazy. Like, why didn't you take leave and all this? I'm like, well, I can work.
Yeah,
I said,
I need a thing to do.
Yeah, but I mean, to answer your question as far as the concussion goes, it was hard to tell because after coming off of the painkillers, then you get some depression from that.
Sure.
And it was I would say like definitely a few months where I didn't quite feel, it's hard to explain because
you don't feel you.
Exactly. So it felt like you don't feel like you're in your own body. It's like your body's present, but what you're like watching. I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like you don't feel present like in the moment.
See, that's always the feeling that I got from like opioids, like from painkillers and stuff like that with all the knee surgeries. Not that I disliked the feeling, but the feeling that opioids gave me was this, like, it's instead of me being here, I felt like I was here from where I actually am. Like I felt like I got to put a foot between me and like my eyes.
Yeah.
And so,
and just to kind of add to that story too. So like after this, so I was 30 when this happened, was making some other poor choices leading up to that, financially was living over my means, wasn't making that much money. And so, I'm single at the time. My face is fucked. I don't know. They shaved half my head.
So you got a good look going.
They shaved half my head. I couldn't do much upper body stuff because of my shoulder, but I was able to kind of work through it and still, get some stuff done. But so it was just like, oh my gosh. So you're talking about low. I'm just like, okay, like, and then on top of that, my bank account was negative $236.
Sick.
Which not many people even know that, with the exception of people super close. But now that, getting older, it's good to be like, hey, vulnerable and tell those stories so people can learn from it.
People need to learn from it.
And it used to be like, I don't want to I don't want anyone to know that and stuff because it's embarrassing.
But that's a nice thing at this age, right? Of being 37, 38, like I'm okay with the embarrassment of 25-year-old me because I needed to feel that. And that embarrassment was really important because it checked me.
Yeah.
And it got me on the path to this.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked on here.
Yeah. And so I kind of had those few months. It was around November, around like Thanksgiving of when the car accident happened. So I was kind of coming back to in February. And that's when I don't know if I want to call it an epiphany or whatnot, but it was kind of like, okay, like, what am I doing? I'm still in the entry-level role at the job I'm at. I go, I know I'm capable of more. Hey, this is kind of too when, I had a lot of opportunities with people trying to pull me back into weightlifting and coach and do all that stuff. And, obviously I have a lot of passion, with weightlifting, not as much with coaching as, competing. I like, I don't get a ton of satisfaction out of like sitting and doing program the monotonous thing.
I understand.
But
it is not my thing.
But I enjoy helping people. Hey, if I can give someone a couple technique pointers, like 2 tactical things to do and their lifts go up, like I'm like, okay, great. And like, and people are appreciative of that. So, to provide that type of value. So I was kind of like, okay, I sat and I thought, and I'm like, okay, like what can I do? I said, all right, one, like, let's get my shit together at work, get focused more on my day job and like, start, networking more internally. And then I eventually got promoted to a leadership spot there in a supervisor role. And, and kind of kept getting promoted from there over the years. So that was the first kind of turning point there. Then with that, I said, okay, like what else can I do outside of work? Cause I need to stay busy. Otherwise I lose my mind. So I had, and luckily I have really good friends, like Matt Bruce, where he was like, he goes, hey man, we just started this brute strength thing. We're going to roll out some weightlifting. Like, so me and him kind of, we've always stayed in touch, but like, we're the kind of friends where we can go, we'll go 6 months without talking. And then it's like, we pick up as like, it's like I talked to him yesterday. So it doesn't matter. It's like, if
fill me on the big stuff.
I need something. Yeah. So and I told him my situation. I wasn't asking for like, but I just said, hey, I'm looking to get kind of back in. What are your thoughts? And he just said, hey, like we'd be interested in bringing you on, but you got to meet Mike Cashew. And I went to the Arnold and we met and kind of hit it off. And he goes, hey, we're gonna bring you on board. So I got in with Brute. Then I was also doing seminars as well. So I actually
with Brute or
no, this is myself. This was separately. On. So this was kind of my own thing. I had set up with a nutrition company, Driven Nutrition, who sells strictly to gyms. And so they had all the gym connections. So all he had to do is send out an email saying, hey, I got this weightlifter that wants to come in and do some seminars. So I was like, and the other thing, so I was broke. I had to move back. I was in a nice apartment, had to move back in my parents' house, defeated at 30. And so I go and, I was like, I couldn't, for some reason, like, come to terms with sleeping in my own like room at my parents' house that I grew up in. So we have a gym in the basement, and I threw a mattress on the ground in the basement, and that's where I slept. I slept down there, train at night, and it was just like, hey, I'll work. But
it's cool to make that switch, right? To like, I get that thing, man, that like, look in this path of, okay, I'm turning things back on. I'm trying to make another run at lifting. I got hurt. I had this car accident. Yeah. And then like also not only just the car accident, but the big realization on the back end of it of like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
And then getting a job you don't care for and then not doing well at it, right? Like it's a really weird thing because like no doubt success that you had in weightlifting or anything like that, it takes so much work.
Oh yeah.
But if you've also made it to the level that you got to, you already had a propensity to be good at this thing. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be me getting passionate about being a jockey and horse racing. Like, I'm going to have a rough road.
Right.
So you've already got some skill set that of course, weightlifting's going that way, and you've done it forever.
Yeah, and I look at, obviously the work ethic, the rigor and discipline required to be successful in it, and then also too, hey, whether it be in the gym or who you're training with, and you get some leadership skills out of that as well. So it was just kind of like, hey, how do I kind of convert that into my day job? And it took me a little while to kind of find that formula of, hey, if I'm prepping for a meet, what am I doing to, how am I identifying some strengths and weaknesses? Where do I need to improve at? And at what point am I assessing and changing what I'm doing? So I kind of took some of that approach and applied it to some in the corporate world to say, hey, if I have an employee on my team that needs to get better in these certain areas, hey, it's going to take some time, but okay, here's what we want to accomplish, to what, from what, by when. So it's just kind of laying that out, almost like writing a training program.
Of course.
And so I just took that mentality of saying, hey, then say, okay, here's where we need to get to it by. Here's what we agree upon, what you need to do to get there. And so been able to use that to help, other people get promoted and things like that, and getting that self-satisfaction, giving them that self-satisfaction and kind of moving forward. So I think that's where I kind of a light bulb moment where I'm like, hey, I can use some of the skills I use in weightlifting. Yeah, because we're doing something different, but we're still, we're in front of a computer, but there's communication skills and a lot of, speaking skills and all these things involved.
And there needs to be some form of linear progression.
Yeah.
Right. And the beauty that comes from athletes for that is we know that progression isn't linear. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be all that. The thing is, you just can't fucking stop.
Yeah.
That's the only answer. That's the only thing that's magic, is you just don't ever stop.
Yeah. And I went on this kind of all out, where I was like, there was a good chance I could have died in that car accident.
Yeah, man.
So, and I was like,
there's for sure a timeline out there that you didn't get through.
Yeah. And I was like, I know. Yeah. I was just kind of like, and talking to some friends here, and you probably met like Chris Thacker and Justin and Thacker, and, they were the ones that told me, hey, you were saved for a reason. There's so much more you can do. And they pumped me up, lifted me up after that. They were the first two guys to reach out and was like, Justin was like, hey man, there's a reason you were saved. I know it. And, there was a lot of guys we came up with weightlifting who passed young in our weight class, and it was almost like a curse. There was guys that were dying in their sleep or accidents or things seriously, 5 guys in the weight class had passed, and he goes, you, in all seriousness, he goes, maybe you beat this curse for a reason, and there's more for you to do, in life to be here. And, it just kind of stuck with me. And so that's when I was like, okay, what I need to start doing shit and start moving. So that's when I was like, okay, what? And so I started doing some seminars, and, and I felt good about doing that because I can go and do a 1-day seminar and provide a ton of value to a lot of people. And I charged a reasonable price for everyone, where it wasn't like, hey, $1,000 for certification, but I was confident what I can do and charge $100, $150,
sure, and
give just as much value through my experience and what I put together, and was getting good feedback on it. So I just went on a rampage of doing seminars, and next thing I know, I'm, in a matter of months, I'm, negative 236 to, plus some other money I saved, and, went on a good run of a couple months making 40 grand doing seminars. So then I'm like, okay, hey, here's some momentum.
Yeah,
going.
Man, that momentum's
this,
huge, right?
I was like, this can be done. And I'm never there was a lot of people making good. There was a whole seminar boom in weightlifting with people making good money.
Yeah, when CrossFit popped.
Oh yeah, and
everyone needed pieces of paper saying what they knew.
And everyone, I heard a lot of people were like, well, so and so was going and they're making all these money and people are paying them, and they always talk shit on them. I go hold on, why is this a bad thing?
Yeah, why are we mad at this?
If you think you're not necessarily, you think you know more, you think you can provide value, you just go out and do it instead of hate on somebody. So I said, hey, I'm going to go give my run at it and see what I can do.
I think to me, I think the hate, right? And I've noticed it for myself, because I felt that way early on too, because I always felt that I had acquired this information over a decade and a half of doing my sport. I can't fucking give it to you in 72 hours.
Yeah.
Or in 8. for that matter, right? And so I think for those of us who had done the time for a long time, it was really hard to understand like that there was value to it and you weren't just fucking people.
Right.
And so it felt like watching other people do it that they were just fucking people, and it's not the case. Look, I believe that there's some that were.
Yeah.
That were
100%.
Or charlatans running bullshit seminars. But
I would always kick back money to the gyms too.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm like, hey, like they're letting us use the space. They're not doing they're not doing classes that day. It's got to be in it for them. And it's just the relationships I got out of that. Like I have 3 gym owners' weddings I'm going to this summer that we stay in contact, and some of the people I talk to the most. So just the relationship building aspect of that and all the people I've met. So like doing that along with, Brute, was pretty cool, where I'm around all sorts of positive people too. And so that was part of the problem before. There was just, surrounded by some negativity and all that, and people
that don't have a growth mindset.
Correct. And it's like, hey, they're stuck in, hey, they're happy with their 9 to 5, and, it's, you do your 9 to 5 and you know how it goes, and party on the weekends. And I got into that for a little bit, where it was just like, because I was still single, and then it's just like, okay, then I'm like, man, I'm too old for this shit. Like I want to be doing more. And so I felt good. Like I was just, would travel all over. And I mean, there was the one year I, was gone, I think 37 weekends of the year. So it was a hustle, I didn't miss, like I'd fly back on Sunday night, or even like sometimes take like the red eye, and I'd pick up my car at the airport, drive into the office at work, and then work and just hustle.
But you're not in a fucking suit vacuuming cars at Enterprise. Like
Correct.
You had that moment. So there's no part of that 36 weeks, and other than I understand, like, fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And because you've built that momentum, it's really weird to ever say, it's too much.
Yeah.
It feels so counterintuitive to say no to an opportunity when you've fought that hard to get there.
Yeah. And it's definitely like it's pretty, a cool experience where, like, hey, there's 30 people came to listen to me talk about weightlifting. And then when you talk to someone, they say, hey, I heard you on this or this podcast, and I drove 8 hours to come to this for one day. And I'm just like, it puts a little more pressure on you. And, from the time I came up, like when I came up in weightlifting, like no one was making money. This stuff was all unheard of. And so I think that's where like some of the hate came towards like some people that were being successful doing this.
I got it from dudes in the Highland Games too, because I'm the only guy that's ever figured it out.
Yeah. And with the older school coaches, they're like, they don't know anything and haven't put their time in, blah, blah, blah.
Get them, Hatch.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, but it's like, hey, you're and so it's just,
goddamn
I can never adapt that mentality where it's just like, I'm always like, hey, if someone else is doing, I can think I'm doing, and I'm not going to hate on them. Well, I'll go do it.
The whole thing's adapt or die. That's how this fucking works.
Yeah.
And man, to like, if you're a coach right now, and because we know a bunch of people who did this, since we've been now doing this since the whole social media thing, CrossFit, everything popped, right? Like, if you're one of those coaches that made this hardline stance years ago to be like, I'm never doing Instagram, like, you fucked up.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny? So I did not get Instagram or Facebook until I was 30.
I don't have any idea on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I bet I was.
And I don't think Instagram had really
I don't know,
started.
Matt, you've created like 18, so.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I don't think Instagram, I don't know when Instagram really started taking off, but like, I had some people tell me, oh, like you gotta, if you're gonna get into weightlifting, you gotta promote. I'm like, what is this?
What are we promoting?
Like, I was like, it was just a little. They were like, just post videos you lifting and stuff.
So
and
it was the same thing for me doing Highland Game stuff. Like we didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
Yeah.
And like when I started YouTube videos, it was basically like I was recording my training sessions to show the other dudes I was training with.
Yeah.
Be like, does this look right?
Instagram was 2010, into 2010. So, I mean, yeah, if you kind of jumped on it then and figured it out.
I was probably pretty early.
Okay.
So, because I mean, I'm assuming that the hate page probably started right when you made it.
I don't know. I mean, probably in 2015.
Okay.
Hate started in 2014.
So, what's the hate page?
That would just be the
hate IG page,
the Instagram, the brand for the apparel company I own.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's still pretty early, 5 years in, even if it was about then.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, you're never going to get to go earlier than today.
Yeah.
So at some point, Brand, I got to do this TikTok thing.
No, I thought you had said hating page. So like
no.
I thought you said someone made a meme account of you, like
the Brand page.
Talking shit. Okay, cool.
That would mean you really made it.
Yeah.
I'll never get there.
I'll do it for you, Matt.
Perfect. Thank you, Brand.
Yeah, I'll make one. Dude. You won't know it's me.
But yeah, it was. No, I was like, so I wasn't like too late to the party as far as that goes. But the concept was just like a little bit, unique for me. But I mean, as far as like my story and from, after, I was heavily involved with the weightlifting stuff with kind of coaching through Brute, and then doing some seminars here and there, filming a ton of content and uploading videos and doing stuff with Matt and stuff down there. But then eventually I was just kind of like, I was always I was saying yes to everything. And then I like started burning myself out. And it was also, so like 4.5 years ago too, we started a business here locally with my dad. So we own a hormone replacement clinic.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, so we've been in business 4.5 years here too. So
what's the name of that?
I was National Rejuvenation Centers.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So our brick and mortar clinics in Creve Coeur, so not too far from here. And then we do telemedicine across a good portion of the country too. So
that's awesome, man. I just started working with a company.
Yeah.
And I chose to start working with a company because I've done it black market forever.
Sure.
Well, forever. When I got out of the HVIII Games and then started trying to get my knee unfucked, I got on gear. Plus, the blood work I had done at 30, my test came back at like 80. So I was low test anyway.
80 total nanograms per deciliter in total? Well,
yeah,
so
that's pretty low.
Fucking low.
So once I got on, after I retired from the sport, they didn't really offer a great TUE in HVIII Games, and we got drug tested a lot, so it was just easier to fucking not bother.
Sure.
And then I knew I would stop as soon as I was going to be not competing in a drug tested thing, I was planning on getting on drugs. That was the plan.
Yeah.
And then, so just kind of ran my own stuff for a number of years to do HRT stuff, monitored my own blood work.
Yeah.
And then as I've been talking about it more on social media with people, because I'm pretty open about drug use.
Yeah.
That, get fucking checked. And because I can work with now someone and do it legally, like, I hate giving someone the recommendation to go get checked if you feel shitty, and then not have an avenue for them to go do it.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, Core Med Group is same thing.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with them for sure. And and I think like too obviously it's been around for over a decade. Places have been doing it, but I think it's becoming less and less taboo to talk about.
It's fucking crazy that it's taboo at all.
Yeah. And do you feel that way? Like it's still a little bit taboo?
Oh, for sure it is.
But I feel like the pendulum is shifting somewhat to where there's more research and more knowledge out there to where they're saying, hey, like we are seeing trends of men that are younger having low testosterone levels. So like when we even like myself, so like what got us involved with it was my dad was having, joint pain issues with arthritis. He was a competitive weightlifter and things like that. And, he's a physician as well, physician himself. And I had told him, this was, I don't know, gosh, I was in my 20, over 10 years ago. I said, you need to get on, look at getting into the testosterone replacement therapy. I, had done some I was doing some research on my own because I've always been just kind of always curious about anything medical related and on the pharmaceutical side of things. And, so I was like, hey, you need to get on that. And he's like, nah. And he came up in the 80s in weightlifting. So he obviously has a background in using a little bit of everything.
Sure.
And he goes, I'm not going back on testosterone. And then he's like, then he starts kind of doing some research and he goes, all right, yeah. He goes, like, I think it's time. Then he does it. And then all of a sudden he's back to working out 5 days a week. He's 68 now, but like, I just saw the shift in how much, I was like, and he works, multiple jobs still now. And
I just don't understand the hang up to anyone of why you wouldn't do this.
Yeah. And I think, there's always there's that negative connotation anytime someone hears it, just because I think of all the the propaganda thing that gets pushed out there from sports.
100%.
Yeah. And so I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
So I think that's true, and I think you and I noticed that, right? Like, especially coming from a track background, fucking drugs are not spoke about within track. Powerlifting, strongman, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
When people talk about drugs. It gets weird in a couple circles, but for the most part, people are pretty open about it.
Oh, yeah.
But coming from a track background, like, yo, you didn't whisper fucking drug talk.
Yeah.
And at that point too, like, it was just this blatant or a blanket of like steroids.
Oh yeah.
Like if 27-year-old me was trying to buy gear,
yeah,
or not 27, probably 25-year-old me was trying to buy gear, like I would have had to try to ask someone for steroids.
Sure.
I don't know any more about it.
Yeah.
Then that's what the thing is we can't talk about.
Yeah, and even with some of the non-bioidenticals, I mean, there's health benefits to those too if used at the proper
non-bio. I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so I mean, anything hormones that your body doesn't produce. So, obviously with testosterone being, bioidentical, so I mean, we focus primarily on bioidenticals, but we also have, other products as well, whether it be, peptides or even we even use like nandrolone for joint pain and things like that.
So I'm on a NAD as well, glutathione.
Yeah.
And testipinate.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we didn't really do any peptides. Man, I did peptides for a long time. I ran the BPC 500 TB 500 and BPC 157.
Okay.
Ran those for a long time with my knee coming out of surgery, and I mean, none of the surgeries fucking went great. Yeah. So I can't really tell you what benefit I got from either.
Yeah. I did, after my quad tendon rupture, and I did ipamorelin, CDC, the 1257, and I did that for almost a year, and I definitely felt some benefits from that. I'll go on and off Sermorelin.
Okay.
Is one as well.
Now, what does that do?
Use. I mean, so it's essentially, it's obviously it's not like the 191 amino acid compound of somatropin or HGH. It's a secretagogue. So it's a peptide. So essentially what it's doing, the best way to explain is it basically tells your pituitary to release more growth hormone into the body. So similar to kind of how HCG works, we'll talk to the testes to produce your own natural, testosterone levels.
Got it.
It doesn't have, I think it has 29 of the amino acids versus the 191 of the, structure of the, somatropin or HGH. No, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to come off as bro science, but
well, shit, your bro science is way better than me. Just saying, makes you better.
Yeah, but I'm pretty familiar, with it. But as far as like my own experience with using it, and it was, I was 32 and I was like sleeping all the time and I felt like shit, and I had trained, I had, a decade plus of training. My joints hurt, and even when we opened the clinic,
you just felt spent.
Yeah,
like you had fucking burned it all up.
And I was just kind of like, hey, I was like, I probably won't need this till later. But then all of a sudden I'm just like, my girlfriend at the time was my wife. She was like, I was falling asleep at like 6 or 7 at night after working. She thought I had a side piece because I wasn't answering my phone.
Yep.
And I just go like, hey, like I'm fucking tired. And then she's like, you don't even want to do anything on the weekends. And so I went and got checked, and I was 335 total nanograms per deciliter. So pretty.
Oh, that's still super low.
So it's pretty low,
And so for people that know, right, like at that age range for us, like low is of what I've been told is like between 300 and 1300, or that's average.
Yeah, well, they'll say, they'll say, most of the labs will say, hey, between 200 and 1200 is what will show as a normal range, but 200 is a big difference than 1200.
For sure.
And a lot of it, I won't go into all of it, but a lot of it has to do with, hey, insurance companies don't want to cover it, and so it's kind of a scam in that sense. So,
which is fine, but let me fucking do it myself.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that we're not allowed to do.
Yeah, and so that's where
it's fucking bonkers that testosterone is a controlled substance in the way that fucking heroin is.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
It's fucking unbelievable. Like, that's not a thing as an adult I can choose to take.
Yeah, I mean, with it being, a Schedule II, and I think it's still shifted. I think it I don't know, like this is my prediction is I think like in 10 years it'll really be like much more mainstream even than it is now.
Dude. I hope, because I think we need it.
Because look at it, like this is what I use, Matt. So like when someone says, they'll say, hey, like say someone has a thyroid issue and their thyroid's out of balance, they got tested, their T3, T4, whatnot, and just say they're, and hey, take some thyroid medication, the hormone,
immediately.
So what they say, okay, go ahead and take it. And do you think anything of
of someone who takes a thyroid? No, of course not. Okay, except for I know T3 and T4 are valuable as far as performance enhancers.
Yeah, so it's just like, you don't really think of it there. You know, you meet someone or whatever, the average Joe, hey, you're taking some thyroid medication for their, you know, whether it be hypo, you know, thyroidism, and then, oh, that's normal. But then when I say, hey, I'm going to take some testosterone, which is also, you know, kind of a hormone in the body, but hey, that's low and you want to get that to an optimal level, what's been in the body, or, you know, optimal looks different for everyone. They respond differently. But then it's like, oh, you're juicing.
Dude, it's crazy, right? And it's crazy that propaganda is so strong. But the other side of that coin is so as I've been talking about it more and more, a plane?
Yeah.
Is there a helicopter or a plane flying by? Yeah. Oh, shit. Just came through the headphones real weird. Oh. But so as I've been talking about it more and more and like talking about it with people on Instagram and through stories or whatever it is, I've had a number of people that's this other side of stigma that I don't understand, but I think is important that people hear it, is this guy that had said, you know, like, was really tired, had all these symptoms, and then like got his blood checked and found out he had low test and was embarrassed that he had low test.
Yeah.
And like didn't want to do anything about it because doing something about it means he's less of a man.
Right.
Like that type of stigma, like I don't understand. Say, like I don't relate to that at all.
Yeah.
But
well, you're the type of person you want to be able to live life to the fullest.
For sure. I'm also willing, whatever makes things better, I'll fucking take it. I don't give a shit.
Right. And yeah, I'm the same way. And you know, and just like from when I started taking it and seeing the change, and hey, like I had a sex drive again. I had energy to go do stuff. I was, you know, I had been, you know, there was times too where, you know, went through some depression, you know, kind of even some depression, like kind of pre-car accident, like I talked about, where you go to the doctor and they don't run any blood panel on you. Say, hey, here's how I'm feeling. They'll say, well, hey, here, take some SSRIs, the serotonin uptake inhibitors. They don't run my blood work, and so I was like, okay, like I was pretty down, and so I was like, hey, they prescribed me Paxil, and it just was
this may have made a big change for you 10 years earlier.
Yeah, and it was just I didn't feel like myself with those, and I had some, you know, you have libido side effects with that, and my balance was off. I wasn't able to like train normally, and then I, you know, eventually, you know, I got off of that, and then then eventually, you know, obviously getting my blood work done at at the clinic and seeing, hey, I was low. Then after I did that, I was like, well, hey, I don't feel as depressed. I feel happy because now I have energy to kind of do some of the things I wasn't able to do before. I'm able to train a little bit more, you know. And so I think with that, and it's easy to get up in the morning too. That's the biggest difference for me, is where I used to like feel so sluggish in the morning, where now it's like I don't set an alarm.
No, like, so I haven't, unless I have a flight.
Yeah.
If I have a hard wake up that I know like I have somewhere to be that's early, say before 6.
Yeah.
I'm going to use an alarm.
Oh yeah.
But if I've got to be somewhere for 7:30 or 8, I don't need a fucking alarm. I'm up at 5.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm like, you know, I'm pretty much I'm 5:30 every day without setting it. And I'm like, when I'm up, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to roll. You know, whether it be work out a little bit, get on my computer, start going. I'm like, okay, like let's go.
Exact same boat. Now, by 6 p.m. for me, I'm not interested in doing shit. I'm not trying to go to bed.
Yeah.
But like I'm done. For me, I'm done working. I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to check it a few more times, but like I'm not carrying it anymore.
Yeah.
It's not my fucking
hand. That's the biggest issue like I'm having lately, is where, you know, I always say I'm busy doing a couple. I now I kind of know my limitations better, because, you know, like I said, I was working essentially 3 jobs, and then, you know, now I'm down to 2.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I like to, you know, I like I said, I like to stay busy, but just kind of knowing my limitations, where there's sometimes where I don't do a good job like cutting it off, where it's like, hey, you got a new patient wants to learn more about the clinic. They submit a form through the website. I'm going to call them, because a lot of the, you know, you have, you know, firefighters, law enforcement, military,
dudes that need help,
that need help, and I'm more passionate about this than weightlifting. It's not even, it's not even close. So that's why I'm just like been like really honed in on this versus like getting, you know, staying into the weightlifting stuff, or even like I'll help some guys here and there.
It's a bigger picture help.
Exactly.
Which is why I'm like, why I talk about it. It's the same reason why I, now that, you know, we've gotten to this point in the conversation, I'm super interested, because people need to fucking know.
Yeah.
And you don't work for the company that pays me.
Yeah.
Right. And I still want to have the conversation because it fucking matters to the people that are listening.
Absolutely.
If you feel this way, you don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your fucking knee hurt, we would provide you something to make it not hurt as much so that you could live your life better.
No, absolutely.
Why would we not fix our hormones? I think what an interesting change it could be to society, right? That if we got rid of the stigma, got rid of the bullshit of this, and actually educate people on how testosterone fucking works. It isn't this goddamn magic bullet that turns you into Michael Jordan. That's not what it is. But a lot of average people want to think that that's the difference.
You're telling me that if I take steroids right now, that I'm not gonna turn into an amazing Olympia bodybuilder?
Well, how much steroids?
All of them.
No, you'll be dead.
It's funny too because you'll have people they'll be like they'll say like, oh, this isn't gonna turn me into looking like this big massive bodybuilder. I'm like, well, these are therapeutic dosage. We're talking between 100 and 200
also
milligrams a week.
some dude that's asking me this is meanwhile fucking 60 pounds overweight. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're gonna accidentally become fucking Jay Cutler. I promise that's the worst thing that'll happen to you. Get fucked, bud.
And so so you'll get people that say that, and so it's kind of like, no, we're not talking about super physiological doses, and your life, to your point, your lifestyles and muscle bellies aren't developed to actually reach that sort of muscle mass, regardless, or have the genetic predisposition to.
Even I know some people who've taken some astronomical cycles of drugs.
Yeah, same here.
However, none of those mutants didn't put in what I also believed is a terrifying amount of work.
Oh, for sure.
None of them just I did the same work as you, but doubled the drugs and got twice the results. That ain't it. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. And that whole idea, it's as stupid, right? As the women who say, well, I don't want to work out because I'll get too bulky.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's the worst.
God forbid your perfect genetics that you've just been laying dormant on that just want nothing to do but grow muscle mass when you start the gym. I know that's the danger you're scared of.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, and then also too, if you're lifting, they're I don't want to lift heavy weights because I'm bulky. Well, it's actually it's the heavy the heavy weights actually are gonna kind of what makes you
it's
leaner
incredible.
and burn more calories.
It's incredible still because we're so deep in this world.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think about the people that are on the outskirts of it and their own reasons for why not to enter. Yeah.
And and I got some hate when I got into this because obviously my background being in a drug tested sport and I was on the no advance notice list for 12 years and everyone and I got Instagram when I think I had put a post on my Instagram and I don't we do mostly things word of mouth. I mean we have social media, but it's typically, the people that come to us are referred by their patients, people we know. I mean, there's some people that may see an ad, and go to that doctor, but typically you're not finding your doctor from a Facebook ad.
Typically
unless there's someone that you trust or trust their opinion that, hey, hey, if you're pumping stuff for a particular clinic, they see you, they feel like they have a rapport for you because they listen to you on the podcast. They say, okay, hey, I trust him. Right. So they may have that personal connection from face to face, but they've heard enough of you to understand, to trust you. And know what you're talking about. So that's why, I feel like with this, it's just, it's typically people, you have to they're referred from people that are within, grows organically from people inside, but there's still just, I think there's still just that we're not there yet, but, obviously someone like you talking about your journey and going through it, but with me with weightlifting, I had people send to me oh, you're opening a steroid clinic and this, and I go, no, it's that's not this. We even treat people for fertility and other sorts of erectile dysfunction, and we treat men and women, and it's here's the doses. So I got a lot. I got a lot of hate.
It's just
not even from people in the weight. Even you have those people in the weightlifting community, but even friends were asking hey, how's your steroid business doing? And I'm so it was kind of obviously it's kind of
great.
And some of the guys people will joke about it. But I know it's joking, but some are serious, and so it's just I'm just whatever. I don't really, it doesn't bother me because I I hear the feedback from the patients and from the doctors, and I see the retention. And when I hear the stories of the people that we've treated, that our doctors have treated, and, you know, whether it be, you know, people in the, you know, helping their everyday life, the average person, or, hey, is it someone in the military who got diagnosed with PTSD, and they say, hey, you need to take these SSRIs, but they don't check their hormone levels, but maybe they, you know, were a long range gunner, or maybe they were close to an
IED, big concussion, TBIs, or anything else.
What's happening is there's some pituitary damage, you know, the pituitary is very sensitive, so there's some damage with that. So like, it's pretty rewarding. Where I have a friend of mine he did multiple tours at he was an Apache pilot and all that, and he eventually, but he just goes, man, he goes like, he's down 30 pounds. He's happier than ever. And because he said the problem was, he goes, I felt depressed. I didn't have the energy to go work out. And he goes, and they told him like, hey, we'll put you on these SSRIs, and then we'll just throw you on trazodone to sleep. And with a low dose of testosterone, and you know, with a low dose of testosterone, he was able to get the energy, get some sex drive back. So he was able to do the things he wanted to do. And he was, you know, kind of a meathead guy too, wanted to work out. And then,
which weird, fixes some of the other.
Yeah. And so then, hey, he's able to live that life. And so then he starts to feel better, and he's just like, dude, this is the best decision I ever made.
So, that's a point that I try to make with people, right? Like what you're saying right there is, I've never met anyone who has decided to get their blood work and actually get on HRT who's ever come back and said, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
It's fucking never happened.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine patients get on and then quit.
You know, it's the people and when you try to set expectations where it's not like, hey, you're going to do your third injection and you're going to feel like Superman.
Oh, people think
and
that
so
it's
we
going
tell
to
them, hey, it's a process, or they'll think, hey, I'm not going to, you know, we say, hey, you're going to get more energy. You said you haven't had energy to go to the gym. Now when you get that energy, you got to go to the fucking gym.
Right.
And they don't want to do that. So that's where it's like, you'll have those people, they don't want to change their diet or anything. And hey, it's not helping as much, but they're, you know, whatever their lifestyle is, and they're partying, and then they're not working out or exercising, you're going to feel a little better. Like we have some of those people that are you know, don't want to change much about their lifestyle, but they stay on because they say, hey, I feel better and I don't have to do shit, or they lost weight. But I'm like, you're not going to get the maximal benefits from it, the optimal hormone levels, until you're actually, you know, obviously training as well.
We're such a society that has this concept of magic. That's what we're all in search of, is this fucking magic thing that is this barrier between me and where I know that I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And whether it's fucking steroids, or it's some magic diet, or a supplement that if I could just find the one supplement, or it's the one training program I just haven't found yet. That's the secret, right? When the only thing that fucking matters is consistency.
Yeah.
It's consistency and like some forward fucking gas pedal to create adaptation.
Yeah.
Whether that's the diet needs to be lower or it needs to be higher, whether you're trying to gain or lose weight, whether that's you need to be somewhere to force your body to adapt to grow more muscle during a training cycle. That's all that fucking matters.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw like some shitty ad for some weight loss thing that was like this belt, and it had like a hula hoop attachment, and like you just swung your hips, and then like it showed this girl with like just take it off, and she doesn't look like she really works out. She just naturally thin. And I was just like, dude,
that's how she got there.
I'm like, y'all motherfuckers will do anything except work out and just eat to like lose weight. I'm like, you'll do anything. You will take any pill that you have no idea what's in it. You'll do anything besides just work out and eat in a caloric deficit.
It's people want magic, and they want it with business. They want it with everything else. They think there's some fucking secret.
Yeah.
Right. And there isn't. Like, the magic's already here.
Right.
It's figuring out how to get out of your fucking way to let it go. Yeah. Whether that's quit giving yourself the bullshit reasons of why you can't go to the gym.
Oh, for sure.
It's amazing the roadblocks people will just put up. And that's why anyone who asks me, like, hey, I'm looking to start going to the gym, what program do you recommend, blah, blah, blah. I don't recommend any program. I recommend you go to the gym 4 days a week for an hour this month. Just show up. Just gain that momentum in yourself that you'll fucking go through the door.
I usually tell people, I say, well, when was the last time you moved? And they go, well, I haven't really worked out or anything. Okay, let's start this. Let's start walking around the block. Just move I said, let's just get up and walk a little bit for a while, and then we start, adding in other things. But
it's incredible
like,
how inactive,
especially too, like, obviously I'm very familiar with the desk life world and all that, and I know what that sedentary, can lead to, and so it's just like, and I have people to me all the time. They'll say, hey, what do I need to do to get back in shape? When was the last time you moved? And they're like, well, I haven't done shit in forever. I go, they go, well, I want to go and start lifting some like weights. And when was the last time you lifted weights? And they're like, oh, like in the high school weight room, and they're in their 30s. I said, okay, so like, hey, let's just start moving, especially someone that's overweight. Like, let's start moving, working on the diet, and then kind of ease into.
It fucking blows me away that someone says, I want to get back into lifting.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, when did you lift again? And they're like, high school. And I'm like, you're 30.
Yeah.
What do you mean back into lifting? You don't lift.
Right.
You never have.
That's
of the 30 years you've been alive, you trained for 3 of them.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
I hear that all the time.
But even more amazing, right, is all of those people will typically talk about that being a good time in their life because they're active in lifting and doing these things, but they won't fucking choose to do it on their own.
Yeah.
Unless some coach is yelling at you.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just fucking do it because you liked it?
I know.
Like, just,
And I feel like, too, if you get in the rhythm of it, and especially like, if you get in the rhythm of doing it and for long enough, you actually, you get the endorphin release, you feel good. Where I'm like so cranky if I don't work out, like, I'll try to make sure I'm always getting 6 days a weekend. There'll be one day and I don't plan that one day off. I just kind of, hey, if I kind of feel, had a long day or whatever, I'll take it off. But typically I'm 6
So
days,
you still like pretty
6 days a week.
6 days a week training. How hard are we training?
So I mean, I'll squat squat 1 day a week, front squat 1 day a week. I'll do a little bit of power snatch, power clean. I don't do the full movements much anymore, but I do a lot of military presses, bench press, incline press, dumbbells.
RPE, where are we hanging out?
If I'm in a gym where like I don't really want to say what I do is cardio. I have some cardio equipment that I do to warm up on and move because it feels good just for my knee to keep some elasticity from the.
I understand.
They tied the tendon down pretty tight after the surgery, but it's so just to keep that movement going. So I don't want to insult anyone and call what I do cardio, but if I just row 2,000 meters in 10 minutes.
Sure.
So
heart rate got elevated for the sake of the heart rate being elevated.
Yes.
That's cardio.
It loosened me up a little bit to like move a little bit to squat or even just like kind of pump and just to kind of get some blood flowing before I start moving. So, no, but I mean, the sessions are usually only about, it's an hour to an hour and a half. I don't get too crazy because I'm looking for longevity now.
Like 80% effort about the high end.
And I can still, I'm still like, with doing what I'm doing, like, I can still, I'm still squatting over 500 pounds and can front squat over 200 kilos. And I know if I need to push it, I could, but I don't see a point in it because it's just kind of a setback.
Right. Look, so, someone asked me that the other night because I'm doing the running thing, and someone was like, well, do you have any strength numbers that you feel like kind of have to stay around?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't, because I feel like if I hold on to some of those, it's counterintuitive for the thing that I'm trying to actually learn to do well, which would be running.
Right.
However, I like knowing that I'm within give a fuck range of some numbers. And for me, that's 500-pound squat. It's a 400-pound bench. It's, X, Y, and Z. And I need to know that if I give a shit for the next 8 or 10 weeks, I can absolutely bench 400 again.
Right.
I need to always know I'm within give a fuck of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to where I'm like, I always want to know, like, hey, I can clean 400 pounds if I still need to. And I don't know how many more years I can have that.
That's still
whatever.
Big, man. That's like my all-time best was right around
Yeah, I was
that.
just like, I want to, always being able to be in a certain range of like, hey, if I have to do it, not that it's like going to be a life or death situation.
Man, if I could still clean 400 right now, there's no fucking way I'd be being nice to my body.
Yeah. And
it's so bad. I'd be doing such stupid shit.
But I've had some fun with doing some of the other, like, I never really push my like bench press ever because I'm usually lifting by myself in my house.
Well, right, and you're Olympic lifting.
So I never really know. And I didn't start bench till after 20 years old. Everything was just overhead. So I've gotten into it a little bit, and I literally like. I've had no one ever show me how to bench. I just kind of watch the videos, and I got a couple pointers from people down when I was at Hybrid.
Sure.
Last week, so that helped a little bit, but it helped a lot for sure with some of the positioning, some of the little tips and tricks, because there are some technical aspects to it. But I've been having fun with that and just kind of playing around. But it's enjoyable just because I'm not like, hey, I don't have this set structure that I have to follow. I have a general idea. I don't write out my workouts. I say, hey, I want to do maybe one lift off the floor, and then I'll work some back.
It's a little bit of autopilot. Like, that you're mixing things up to adapt. Like, it's because you have enough training years. We don't have to operate off of that strict thing anymore. We did it for so long that at this point, also, I'm using an RPE scale for the most part at this age, just because what's an 8 today and what's an 8 tomorrow could be wildly fucking different based on how beat up I'm feeling from whatever it is, from the running training or life for that matter. You just have days where it ain't there.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And so you just keep moving.
Absolutely. Now, how does your body feel since getting off the black market to getting the
I feel really, really good right now. That's all I can really say. I didn't feel bad before.
Yeah.
I've been on HRT dose for quite some time.
Sure.
I mean, running 200 milligrams of a Cypionate or something like that, and never really. I guess I was running a little bit hotter last year. Yeah, because I was running about 800 of Cypionate a week.
Okay.
And I end up getting outbreaks and stuff like that, so my back will kind of get nasty.
That's a pretty high dose for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm running hot. It was a choice.
What was your total test getting up to?
I think the highest I ever got blood work done was like 1,600.
At running 800?
Yeah.
And that was the black market stuff?
Yeah. Which I know the quality is questionable.
It's very questionable.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and so like right now, I feel fucking great.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't have any issues right now with the side effects that I had from black market stuff.
Sure.
Now, whether that was the dosage or black market or whatever, things are definitely more regulated now. And I know what I'm supposed to be taking and when I'm supposed to be taking it and how much. And I mean, I'm taking something damn near daily.
Sure.
Between everything that I'm given, which is fine. I mean, a bunch of it's subcutaneous bullshit injections, and the others, one intramuscular shot a week.
Right.
Also, I'm on intermuscular D3, which I never thought about taking it that way, but whatever.
I've been hearing a little more about it, and as far as absorption levels and all that. So it's, I don't know. Like I would need to do a little more research in it to see how much proven it is as far as like the absorbing better. I think sometimes there's a stigma that if you're injecting, it's going to be better regardless of like what it is. So,
for sure. Well, it's going to get processed by less bullshit. You're losing less of it.
And then I definitely in some scenarios for sure. But no, I think too, like I appreciate where, hey, like a lot of people too, they're like, no one wants to tell anyone they're doing it. Because they want people to think that, hey, obviously you still have to work to look good, and do it. Where people are like, I just want everyone to think I just like started hitting the gym harder. So a lot of people won't say anything. So this is funny too. So like I had I have like a couple examples of funny stories where someone asked me, they go, it was at work, and they're like, hey, like, they're like. Do you like, have you ever taken steroids before? You look like pretty big or whatever. And I'm just like, I go right now I'm on 200 milligrams, of testosterone and anthate per week. I'm on, X amount of IUs of HCG. I'm doing, 150 of nandrolone a week, and I'm doing a growth hormone peptide too. And I gave my whole regimen to him, and then he was just like, he was thinking, because most people are like, no,
hell nah, bro.
And most people are like, no, they're like, no, like, they were like, oh no, I've been watching my diet more, and so they were kind of taken back.
Yeah,
and it was in the workplace too, where he's thinking like,
are you a cop?
Like, yeah,
you're a cop,
he was
bro.
thinking like, I'm gonna say, I was just gonna say, oh no, there's like extra protein, and I laid out, well, here's my regimen, here's what days I take it, I do it every other day. Then he's just like, he goes, okay. And
yeah,
so,
they don't know how to process.
Yeah, they don't know how to process because they think I'm just gonna like say some bullshit, even though like, hey, maybe it was obvious because like I was looking vascular that day, you know, a little extra, you know, not to say it wasn't attainable naturally with that
course,
look, but it was a little suspect.
But also,
you know?
Who fucking cares whether it's obtainable naturally? I don't have to live that way.
Exactly.
There's no extra fucking medal I get at the end of this run for saying,
oh yeah,
I suffered without testosterone for the last fucking 40 years of my existence. Why would you fucking do that?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, yeah, people are like, I don't want to.
Dude, whatever makes me feel better and accomplish more things, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Like the response I get, like one of the questions I get is like, what are you taking supplement wise? And so I fucking lay it out. It's like testipinate. I take, it's that. It's the NAD. It's the glutathione. I microdose mushrooms. And so psilocybin's in there. And like, so I fucking plow everything that I'm currently taking that makes me better.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? If it's available and if you're going to handle the other parts of your life, like your sleep and your food and all that being sorted out so that you actually benefit from the supplements.
No, absolutely.
Look, man, I'm trying to run as fast and aggressively right now at life as I possibly can. And so no weak links, man.
Yeah.
Whatever keeps it cooking and keeps it creative and doesn't make it destructive, I'm into it.
Yeah. And I think, for your lifestyle too, you know, staying at the optimal levels and what you're trying to accomplish and all that, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. I know what chemicals are bad.
And doing it in a, you know, in a healthy manner, getting monitored and all that. So, you know, I always I appreciate whenever someone is open about it too, because I'm like, hey, I want to spread I'm kind of on a mission to spread awareness.
Yeah.
Kind of slowly kind of doing it, you know, obviously, but this, you know, now in the future, now that we're serving more states, where before it was, hey, you have to fly into St. Louis, even though it's in the middle of the country, but now, hey, we're licensed.
The telemedicine thing's changed it.
Oh yeah. I mean, where we had to kind of, obviously with COVID, it didn't even go in that direction anyway, where telemedicine was going to be, you know, they were loosening the restrictions at the federal level, but then it comes down to the state level as far as the determination of what you can do in each state. And it gets a little tricky to navigate. That's why there's lawyers that make a living just on, you know, telemed compliance law and things like that. So it's interesting, but yeah, I think there's it's moving in the direction of, hey, it's going to be, you know, more, you're going to see more and more of that, especially in, you know, it was going that way pre-COVID. Then once COVID hit, it was kind of like, hey, it's kind of game on. And then there's, even with some of the medical health emergencies, doctors temporarily being able to prescribe via telehealth across state lines, even if they weren't licensed in some states had PACs. So kind of navigating all that. But, you know, I think the future eventually will hold, you know, it's going to be, you'll see more and more of that, where they want more access to healthcare if the standard can be met, the same level of standard can be met as an in-person. And then with having the, you know, the blood work, and obviously, and you can always get physicals local with the doctor and things like that. So it's obviously, you know, good for our business. And I knew, you know, and we go through we were already set up on a telemed system, so we knew eventually we were going to go that way, but it's kind of one step at a time. We're building the local business and the face-to-face business, then growing from there. You know, because it's hard to get a, you know, budget to market nationally, and stuff, as you probably know, and with your brands, and
yes, it is an interesting game.
Yeah, and so it's tough to do, and you know, so we went through, you know, even with the whole marketing side of things, it's just like trying to navigate that, because like my role is mostly, I kind of do an operations role / marketing role for the business, so it's you know. And obviously, like, I was still kind of learning. My degree's in marketing, but everything they taught me, it doesn't work.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't work. They're like, hey, print. You know, they taught me how to do print advertising.
Print advertising.
Like, yeah, you want to print, in the, you know, yeah, okay, print in the Post's patch.
Not only that,
fucking
like,
luck with that.
The pace is different.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that I think the old marketing doesn't understand, of how fucking fast-paced things have to move now, because it's instant. I don't have to send this month's ad off to 5 different magazines.
Right.
As soon as it's created, it's used, and now it's no longer useful.
Yeah.
And I need one for tomorrow.
Right.
Right. And so that pace of just create and go.
Yeah.
Just is the old guard can't keep up.
Yeah. And then always gathering data and making tweaks and
you have
as you go and stuff. So do you do all your marketing like in-house on your team? Do you have a rep or do you outsource?
So we don't have like anyone in-house. So I work with a marketing company that runs like all of our Instagram, Facebook ads, Impact Media.
Okay.
They've been awesome. George and Luke Nestler are out there, and they've done great work for us. And then we've got another company that handles like our emails. So they handle like the breaking down categories of our email list to customers and stuff like that for targeted marketing. And our team that is in-house between Brant, Andy, and Harrison, they are the guys who will design the ads.
Yeah.
Not ads, but design the copy.
Yeah, I would essentially say like our in-house, we're making everything. Like we're doing all the pictures, we're making all the designs. And now that we have, because we just got Andy and now we have him like designing the emails now. So we also have like that. So we're moving more stuff in-house, like in regards to like the creative side and like designing and stuff. But when it comes to like the actual, like the way it gets targeted to people, we have like
we have to people that are good at
jump in Impact, because that's like one of those things that I feel like isn't impossible to do in-house, but it's definitely like having a place that's literally all they do. It's it's like they're masters at it. Like that's all they do.
And not only that, like the side of it that they're going to be bad at is the speaking my brand's voice.
Right.
So we'll handle that.
Yeah.
Let us focus on that piece. And then what we don't know the best practice for is splitting up the email list or how often these should go out or the best practices for it. So we'll let you do that, and we don't ever have to think about it.
Yeah.
We just give you cool shit.
Just give you cool shit, and then we know it goes out. We don't have to have a conversation about what the plan is. Like, there's no wasted RAM of the company on that week. You know that system's in place. We just have to create content.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's far more what we are than anything else is content creation. Whether that's doing the actual podcast, and then we outsource the editing of it. So that we can focus on this part.
Then you'll have this space too to do some cool shit too.
Exactly. So more filming with dope and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun.
And have people roll through.
Yeah, man.
I'm always curious about the marketing side and just navigating that, especially you start as a small business and you try to get it to grow. And I just look at like every year it's constantly changing, and then my mentality is how to approach it always changes too and stuff. And like, I've been big on just like I've met with like local marketing agencies and stuff, and we're still a small business, but they want big contracts and a ton of money, and they'll say, hey, we're going to get you 30 leads. We'll get you 30 new patients a month if we implement this thing. It's like turning on a machine, all this. And so like, okay.
Now there is some truth to that, right? Because we're in an interesting time for marketing, and especially with Facebook or Instagram or any of these other type of things. One of the things that we've never had access before to is the advertising, the way it can be done now.
Oh, yeah.
Because in years past, advertising has always been a gamble, and it's not anymore. It's not a gamble. There is always a positive return on your investment advertising with Facebook or Instagram. Now, what percentage is the gamble?
Right.
Based on how much they can target your audience, X, Y, and Z, or the quality of products you make, blah, blah, blah. But if you're giving them $1, you are getting more than $1 back. It's never not that case. Yeah. And it's because of data collection and how much they know about us, which I don't fucking have a problem with. If you don't have if you have an issue with that, there's things to not do, like use their software for free.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the fucking exchange.
For sure. Yeah. And I've dug into it like a little bit, but I never had the time to like study all day, like how you mentioned, like there's guys that are doing this all day.
It's
right, which is why I would just hire them.
It's a very complicated machine, like especially just like thinking about the complications of like the Instagram algorithm and like how it works. Because like as far as I know, like people that have millions and millions of followers, it's only showing like 10,000 people at a time or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so it only gives 10% of your audience a view of it in the first X amount of minutes or something like that. Yeah. Or allegedly, this is what I've heard through the fucking grapevine of people who.
It's a percent, because I mean, think about The Rock, who has 160. Like I looked at this, like it was like Rock has like 162 million followers, or something ridiculous, and he gets like 3 million likes a post.
Now, it's easy for us to be like, well, that's fucked, right? Like, why can't we show everyone on the Rock's feed all of the Rock stuff, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I follow 2,000 or something. I don't know how many people I follow, but if I actually got all of their updates linearly, I'd still never see shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Instagram has to play an algorithm based on what is it you interact with the most. And I'll give you more of that because that's clearly what you like.
Right.
Because logically, why would you interact with things you don't like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people that are mad at their fucking phones because it infuriates them, it's because you continue to click on and engage with things that you fucking are furious about.
Yeah.
And so it's giving you more of what you're telling it you're in love with.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to put more energy into, it will show you more.
Yeah, because I mean, you definitely don't have to like a post for it to get that data. Like you clicking on it is enough. Like that's enough to give it like an information that you, because that's a link.
And that's
like,
and that's all it is
every
information.
Single time you move anywhere, you're linking. That's a click that's recorded by the system.
It doesn't have an opinion.
It's insane. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't give a fuck. But it's gonna take every bit of data and put you into a category. So it knows the first thing people do in the morning is touch this. So now I know when you wake up. I know when you go to bed. So I know what hours you're awake. I know on Instagram how many pictures you typically averagely swipe through before you stop. How many you like in a row. Like you can break down all of that data, right?
Yeah.
And so because we can collect all of that data, advertising's really good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, cool, we'll just...
and the tools are just getting better.
Instead of saying like, well, our magazine goes out to 2 million various people. How about I just give you 10,000 people that love the shit you're into?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what you'd want.
No,
you wouldn't advertise for like, some bouquet of fruit and guns and ammo. This is not the target demographic. And so it's incredible that we have that much data for it to work that way.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why people are mad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of sign up for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can opt out.
It's that whole terms and agreement that you skip over every single time that you just check. That's what that is.
Oh, man.
No, I mean, because I just see everyone using it kind of obviously differently in different takes. That's why I was curious, as far as.
But I also haven't had a civilian Instagram in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had one that was just me fucking around with my friends.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's 100%. You're using it business.
It's all work.
That probably
it's all
pretty
work.
funny,
Yeah,
though.
100%.
It was for a long time. It definitely started there.
Yeah.
But then as it has to be more serious. I mean, there's still some of that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Instagram's a job.
Yeah. Everyone I know that knows you always says, hey, oh, he's a good time.
Sure. Perfect. King of good times. I threw it in the bio. This is just, you're going to hold now.
I saw that. And I was like,
I stole it off of the billionaire bad boys of India.
I don't know what that is.
There's a documentary on Netflix about these thieving ass billionaires in India.
I liked it.
And there's one dude who just called himself the king of good times.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I fucking take that moniker.
That's kind of gangster. Yeah.
Dude, we're running into what are we, about 90 minutes?
They were doing some shady
Hour
shit.
40, yeah.
Yeah, hour and 40 in.
We're both chatty guys.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do this more.
For sure, man.
Dude, where can people find you? Are you still doing You're not still doing seminars or anything,
no,
right?
I'm not. I'm open to getting back into it. Obviously, right now, I don't know how many gyms are doing. A lot of them are remote, with people that are doing the certifications or whatnot. But obviously, I'm always open to doing seminars.
We should do some Olympic lifting content here once we get things kind of dialed in. That would be rad.
I'm always down to film stuff.
Hell yeah.
Go through tip videos and whatever. I've done it for multiple brands. So there's all sorts of stuff out there and tied to, they're probably like, what the heck? Who's this guy? And I've just little freelance stuff and and so I enjoy doing that because I feel like I can give a little bit, give a couple tips and cues that can completely change someone's mindset, whether it be for a clean or whatever movement. So, no, I'm down.
Dude, that'd be
I'm
super
always
fun.
down to film. No, I'm on Instagram, just my name, Jeff Wittmer. And then,
That's your name.
Just my name, just simple. Yeah, just simple. Just
that's great.
Just
that's what I wish.
Matt,
at
just
Jeff Wittmer.
I'm named the same as 9 million other dudes.
Just don't have a basic white name. That's all. That's all it is.
Yeah. Then my business National Rejuvenation Centers. So
awesome.
It's kind of a long
dude.
one, but yeah. But I don't post much on there. But I'm like, I want to get some more stuff out on my personal. We don't post much on the business stuff either. But I'm gonna get back into it a little bit. But like like people, obviously any sort of like weightlifting stuff, people like to see if it's something impressive or whatever, and working like some of that stuff. And I don't do that much stuff impressive anymore, but it's a good way. I don't know. I've had just even like I hadn't posted in a while, and I posted a couple videos not at Hybrid, and then all of a sudden I had people like reaching out to me.
Yeah, of course, man.
I had people reaching out to me that I hadn't heard from in a long time, and I'm like, oh man, like I guess that's what I got to do. Like,
yeah, dude, it's
and so
rad.
I reconnected with all these people, and I'm like, okay, like now I kind of remember like the value.
It's easy
in
to be
this.
weird about the social media thing, but like we're not in here.
Yeah.
We don't get this conversation. I don't know Hayden and Steffi. I don't know Jordan. I don't know any of these other people in my life without it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'll never talk shit on this platform.
Yeah. No. that for sure. I look at so many people that there's so many people I've met from it where it's like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I had a weird, not epiphany, but like just weird moment where like, I thought I have a friend that just kind of argues with Facebook moms.
Oh,
and
God.
so, but like my thing is I was just like, this is really interesting because this person's probably on like the other side of the country or whatever, and you're having this dialogue with them, like about whatever it is that you're talking about. And I'm just like, I just thought it was really interesting because I'm just like, that would never have happened like 30 years ago. You would never been able to have this conversation with just another human being on the other side of this thing. But
something I'd never thought about just based on what you were saying.
Yeah.
Is maybe before social media, because there's definitely some people who can't handle it. Yeah. I don't know a better way to say it than that, but
okay.
like it just fucking kicks their ass.
Oh yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like maybe you didn't know anyone in your group who would argue with you.
Yeah.
There's someone who will happily anonymously argue with you
Always.
About anything.
Yeah.
Now,
there's so much I could say there.
Across the board, and the people that are interested in that life.
Yeah.
To spend their day defending things they don't give a shit about to someone they don't know.
Yeah.
Or defending things to someone else to educate someone else who doesn't care.
Yeah.
About a thing you don't care about, but it's been deemed important.
You just kind of want to win.
No,
man.
People, I was like, people need to get better things to do if they spend so much time on that. And then those are probably the same people that complain and say, I don't have enough time to go to the gym.
That's exactly it.
I don't have enough time to, but how many fucking hours
incredible to me
of just like arguing, of arguing with people. And, this was like, speaking to as far as like the obviously connecting people, but one thing I haven't touched on it. Sorry, I'm running over time.
No, it's fine, dude. No worries.
But I was talking to Hayden about this, where like with like anything with like kind of fitness or health, or if you're like weightlifting, powerlifter, you're a thrower, body, like even bodybuilding and people in fitness, there's like the 6 degrees of separation. Really, it's like that 1 degree where it's like kind of once you get into it, you always know like you're only one person away from another
for
person.
Sure.
Do you agree with that? Me and him
there's
me
a
and him were
giant
talking about
6
that.
degrees of separation. Like, and this was actually years ago, and you've been around long enough. I don't remember who it was. It may have been my brother that was essentially like, you're the Kevin Bacon of strength sports.
Yeah.
That me, because of like my weird net of people, that if you need to make the jump from whoever to whoever, I can get involved and cover a lot of ground for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's just like finding that. Yeah. It's like, one person, you're one person away from finding like
right.
That one person.
And I know 10 people who know a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
Right.
It's super weird sometimes, like watching him talk to someone, because like they'll bring something up and then he'll give like 5 different references of like people he can refer them to like get them that thing. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Like,
I know a dude.
Just know, it's like, I know a dude. Like Matt's definitely a dude's like, I know a dude that knows a dude, but he actually knows the dude. And it's just like,
it's weird.
It's super weird. Yeah. It's super wild.
Funny.
I mean, it's cool, but it's
helpful.
It's super helpful, but it's super interesting. And because and that's all social media because of the way like of how you can connect with people now and how you can get in touch with people like can be on the other side of the world, then I can just find your Instagram page and we can start having conversation.
And like, you don't have to have the negative ones.
Yeah.
You can fucking delete them.
Yep.
But it's cool though to see like, you know, you make an introduction for someone and then it's just like that, how that chain reaction, you know, happens.
Dude, I've been taken care of for so long, especially like when I got into things and started trying to go this route, like, you know, Jim Wendler and Mark Bell and these guys all really fucking took me under and helped introduce me and get me around to people and gave me a platform to speak on. And so I just try to pay it forward as often as I can to anyone that I meet that I think's doing good. And it's fucking fun.
Yeah. I'm going out to Sacramento in May to
right on.
meet with Mark.
Dude, Mark's great.
Yeah. So there's and meet Chris too. I have a buddy who is connected with their producer, and we you know, and I'll tell kind of the full story about how I didn't get into all of it today, but obviously I know who Mark is and all that, but Chris was the, you know, with the first, you know, person who came on radio with the Bigger, Stronger, Faster documentary. So I'm like a huge fan of, kind of idolized some of the things he's done. So he kind of set that up where I go out and meet those guys. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Dude, super training's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
I need to get out there. I was talking to Mark the other day. We got to make a weird California trip. Maybe we'll just drive up north.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
One, like, and two, like, you think, I don't know about you, but like you know, obviously with last year, there was, you know, you probably been on video and Zoom with people or whatever.
I've tried to avoid it like hell. I fucking hate it.
That's
why I have this.
Any chance, like, even, like, I was excited because, like, I didn't even know when I talked to Hayden about this. I had no, like, it wasn't anything made on the podcast. I said, man, I just want to go meet somebody cool in person that's in my town. So I didn't even know about being on the podcast at first. And you were like, because I wasn't like 100% sure on their text. I was excited to meet you and hang. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I was like, anytime, like, even being down there last week, I was just like, man, it's like, I'm so fucking tired of talking to people on video all day, every day. And just like this feels good. To be in like this environment and around people. So.
I'm scared of it.
Yeah.
I'm scared of it a little bit as far as like long-term shit goes. And I think we're seeing some real repercussions of that within our society.
Yeah.
Look, we learned really early on that 90% of communication happens in nonverbals. And so that's eye contact. It's empathy. It's you get inflection. You get context of what people are talking about. You get this shared sense of emotion with a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in text. You read text in the context that you're already in the mood for.
Yeah.
And so we're losing a big aspect of that in our society. I didn't start really noticing it until, you know, we started getting athletes on and stuff like that with HVIII that were younger, like in their mid-20s or early 20s, and how I could hold really decent conversations with them via text. But as soon as we got in person, they couldn't talk.
Yeah.
They couldn't make eye contact. They didn't know what to do, and it was extremely awkward. And I don't know if that's because, and also a benefit for text is you can think about your response.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I don't. I just send it and or never bother correcting spelling. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
And it's less organic. You're just sitting there thinking about it. It's really
sure, but you can give it a better second to rephrase. I can understand why having a text conversation with someone, especially if we have a confrontation, like if we need to talk about a thing that I feel ill about, that I can see how that feels more comfortable because you have time to breathe and make responses and you're not caught in the anxiety of the conversation.
Yeah.
But you miss a lot. You miss that look in the person you're talking to's eyes of I understand or I missed it, or they can understand better and they can ask questions about what you mean. Can you explain? And it doesn't work the other way. You know, the Zoom thing, it's better. But it's still fucking weird.
It is. And it was like, that's like a lot of my days is just like on in video and stuff. So anytime I get a chance to, like, you know, it's just get out and get around people and stuff. It's been, and I mean, I'm pretty introverted for the most part, but it's like, obviously like the gym world I'm always around, you know, it kind of came up in that. So it was always, I'm not like, you know, at this point in life, not like obviously want to be super social, but just getting around people in that gym environment and then feeling that camaraderie last week.
And it's not training partners, it's just people.
And that's why I said like, hey, I was like, and my mood's always better too. And that's why what kind of even sparked me. I'm like, I just want to like link up with cool people and talk and like, you know, get some connections. That's why I made a point this year after the way last year was mentally how I'm feeling. I was like, I want to get back to doing like what I had been doing before and just like meeting cool people and networking and stuff.
Hell yeah, dude.
And so no, I definitely appreciate you having me on. And finally, I feel like, your name kept coming up, and then you being in the same town we hadn't met. So I was like,
I hope it didn't blow.
I
hope it didn't blow.
Likewise.
No, dude, this was great, Jeff. I super appreciate it. Brant, thank you, and that's it.
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening.
You want to just run your socials real quick again?
Yep.
Yeah. So Instagram's just at Jeff Wittmer. Wittmer. There's no H in there. Everyone wants to put an H.
All right.
Then at National Rejuvenation Centers is a business account. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you guys. Spread hate. Always party.